she said.
What she said.
Yeah, no, it's and the story is changing and has changed, and it's interesting. Like before the Wall Street collapse, people were so loath to criticize Wall Street and bankers, etc. And we just had this amazing nationwide movement that's not. It's like morphed and isn't so visible, but Occupy Wall Street isn't over, and the fact that in probably the majority of cities and towns in the country, there were Occupy Wall Street contingents was a level of fury at the status quo of capitalism as practiced in the U.S. and at the Wall Street bankers that was unimaginable. Because that's also what I feel is like amazing things happen. The world has changed so much, and it's partly that because most of the people who, like the New York Times, like Jesus could come back and give all of you a psychedelic pony, and the New York Times would find a way to cover it that would make it really boring, I don't think it's going to happen, but if it did, it would be like Sources Tuesday said that a bearded figure walked across water with what zoologists have been unable to identify, but it's just, and it's interesting because people don't look at these things and say this is completely amazing, and and it's like we're facing a lot of really dire stuff, but it is really amazing, and that and it's partly that when you say that people think because we're the U.S. Maybe it's a two-party system, maybe it's the Puritan hangover, I'm not sure what it is, but people like to tell if it's not black, it's white, if it's not good, if it's evil, if it's not a victory, it's a defeat, and it's so much more complex. If you say things are totally amazing, people think that I'm saying, oh, we've won and now we can rest on our laurels, and they think the opposite of that is they have to say, everything's terrible and we lost. And it's actually like, there's some interesting gray area where we've made a lot, if you talk about feminism where amazing things have happened. We're addressing 5,000 or so years of patriarchy, and we've made some major inroads. And anybody who thought we're going to completely fix everything magically with psychedelic ponies in 50 years, is short-sighted. And where you don't, and that's that middle ground. I think we don't have a lot of language where you're not complacent and satisfied, and you're not bitter and disappointed. Where you feel motivated and inspired by what people have done before you and want to carry it forward and think you might get somewhere with some of it. And also recognize that you don't know what's going to happen, because the pessimism, which I spend so much time around in the American left, actually kind of believes that it knows what's going to happen, and actually you don't. And often things turn out completely differently, and like if you say things are going to get better and they don't, everybody wants to stone you to death. But people run around all the time talking about how terrible things are going to be, and they come out other than terrible, and they never have to apologize for it. And we sort of accept that dismal narrative. It's kind of an invisible part of the ecosystem, but it's invisible like mercury is invisible, or toxic emissions are invisible or something.